Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's show. This is High Strangeness in the Liminal Abyss, and I am your show host, SHETAN Noir. And this week, who knows what we'll talk about, but one of the things that I was recently made aware of is the fact that the Federal Trade Commission has now proclaimed that non disclosure agreements are illegal. Now, for those of us in the cryptid world, not so much paranormal, but UFO researchers, conspiracy theorists, this opens up a whole can of worms and or rabbit holes, spaghetti, whatever you want to call it, because does that mean that government sanctioned or government employees or agents who were once told you are not allowed to discuss the details of this case or this encounter or this flap or whatever, does that now mean that those regulations, those guidelines, those rulings are lifted? In case in point that I will point to as a eye opener was when the Tic Tac video and news of that became available to the general public. And here are two very um, important pieces of information or video or reports that pertain to UFO activity that our United States government tried to cover up, but because the pilot was videotaping it while he was in pursuit of the UFO or USO or whatever you want to call them, little flying saucers, because he was in pursuit of it and it was recorded on his navigation system of his aircraft. We have these videos that show remarkable maneuverability of these UFOs, being able to dive into the water, being able to instantly stop, change direction, dive under the water, come back up, match speed with the jet fighters, change directions almost instantaneously. Things that our jet fighters, even our most capable pilots, cannot do. And we have evidence of this with these videos. So, with that now opening up, if the non-disclosure agreements, if those are now null and void and illegal according to the Federal Trade Commission, then how's this, going to open up the areas of ufology and cryptozoology and conspiracy theories where things that people have stated for many, many years, oh, that's a government cover up, or it's something the military created, something that our government knows about but doesn't want the people to know about. Are we going to see a surfacing of people with firsthand information? Either they've worked directly on the projects, they've seen the evidence themselves. Are we going to see a releasing of this information and having it be available for the general public to inspect, read, watch, form our own conclusions about it? We're not in the early innocent years of the 19th century or 20th century, when the mere thought of aliens might send everybody into a panic. Pretty much everybody knows that there's aliens out there. Everybody knows there's ghosts out there. Everybody knows there's Bigfoots out there. And the general public accepts that this information is out there, but what we don't accept is being lied to and told that no, you're seeing a weather balloon. No, you saw uh, a large owl or something else flying around. Um, we don't accept that anymore as the answer to the questions that we're answering. So now that there is this ruling, are we going to get the answers that we've all been looking for and the information that we've been looking for? It's going to be very interesting what starts to get released within the next 6 months from government agencies who, now that there's, a gag order that's been removed, it's not like they have to worry about whistleblowers coming forward and releasing this information. They should be worried because now they can legally do it and talk about it to any news agency out there, whether it's 60 Minutes or the 10 o'clock news or newspapers, magazines. That's all open for people to now tell this information to, and for people to now have access to. So it's going to be interesting what we're going to see within the next 6 months to a year. Now that that has been officially been made a ruling, and are the Supreme Court's going to uphold that and stand behind that of, these non-disclosure agreements are now null and void. And now people can talk about things that they've been told to keep quiet about or to just forget that they saw it. It's going to be really interesting to see where this information or where this is going to lead to. Probably going to get a lot of hoaxers, but it'll be interesting to see what real information comes out and what people are going to really be interested in learning more about and investigating now that maybe some of these locks and chains are removed and we have access to information now. Um, it'll be really interesting. So that's, the one of the first things that I wanted to talk about was just, how are we as a society going to, perceive this new information that comes out, and are people going to grasp it and see it for the information that it is? Are people going to say, oh, it's just hoaxes, they're just trying to mislead us once again and give us some information but not the whole information, not the whole truth about things? So it'll be interesting. I am looking forward to what information is going to come out and what new revelations it's going to lead to of what different people who have had eyewitness interactions with the government as government employees are going to be able to now say and talk about, because we already know that these things exist. We know that the UFOs are out there. We know that the Bigfoots are out there. We know that cryptids are out there. Are we going to get an answer as to whether Dogman and Mothman are interdimensional creatures or extraterrestrial, or are they a government creation? Because I've heard all three of those theories thrown around. I personally believe that they are either interdimensional or they're alien. I don't believe that they are naturally existing here on Earth. Bigfoot, yes, but the other cryptids, Mothman and Dogman, I don't think are. Um, Plenty of your lake monsters could be natural occurring, but there's a lot of other weird cryptids out there that really, there's nothing in the fossil record that says that they should be here. So it'll be interesting what kind of insight we get into these cases. Um, and even going back hundreds of years, is this going to open up new insight into old cases where things were dismissed as um, being another species other than what it was, or meteorites, or what have you? Is there going to be a revelation of new information that says that different key events in humanity's development are not what we perceived and are actually different than what we thought, and the powers that be or the authorities just decided that no, we couldn't handle it that time, and change the scenario to their liking? Are we going to see a revelation of that information? And is it going to be different than what history told us was going on? Are we going to see a huge difference right there? Because that'll be interesting too. I doubt if they will rewrite the history books, but having the correct information about different things that have happened, because I can name a couple of cryptid sightings right off the bat that you don't know if it was a natural occurring or if it was something that got released. So one that I'll talk about real briefly is the Van Meter monster, or the Van Meter visitor. If you go back to the original reports, people assumed this creature came out of nearby mines, and they chased it back to the mines, and supposedly it was like barricaded inside the mines. But other than it being somewhat pterodactyl looking, this creature had a light that beamed out of it. It emitted either an odor or a smell, or a sound that made people dizzy, lightheaded, would make them lose consciousness. A natural occurring species don't do that. Um, yes, there are some really foul smelling things out there, skunks for one. But other than, like, if you get blasted like right in the face by a skunk, you're going to be throwing up. Guaranteed. The smell is that strong, but it's probably going to not make you lose consciousness. So, what was the scripted that people were seeing all those, 100 years or more ago? What could it have been? So, was it natural occurring? Was it something that the miners released? Something that the state or federal government actually was able to figure out what it was, but just kept it under, you know, lock and key, because they didn't want the local people to panic and freak out and um, have mass chaos on their hands. Again, really interesting, how these scenarios are going to play out. And if people who are researching this are going to get the actual answers that we deserve to have, and the correct, true information. So keep your eyes peeled for information that's going to be coming out hopefully within the next 6 months to a year. And let's see where this leads. But until then, go out there and explore this world and stay curious out there. And until next week, go explore. Bye.